Vain, alas, he called upon his father's name. Alas, he begged his father-in-law's support. But while he swam, his lips most frequently pronounced that dearest name, Halcyone. He longs to have his body carried by waves to her dear gaze, and have at last entombment by the hands of his loved friends. Swimming he called Halcyone, far off, as often as the billows would allow his lips to open, and among the waves his darling's name was murmured, till at last a night-black arch of water swept above the highest waves and buried him beneath engulfing billows. Lucifer was dim past recognition when the dawn appeared, and since he never could depart from heaven, soon hid his grieving countenance in clouds. Meanwhile, Halcyone, all unaware of his sad wreck, counts off the passing nights, and hastens to prepare for him his clothes that he may wear as soon as he returns to her; and she is choosing what to wear herself, and vainly promises his safe return. All this, indeed, while she in hallowed prayer is giving frankincense to please the gods, and first of loving adorations she paid at the shrine of Juno. There she prayed for Ceyx, after he had suffered death, that he might journey safely and return, and might love her above all other women. This one last prayer alone was granted to her. But Juno could not long accept as hers these supplications on behalf of one then dead, and that she might persuade Halcyone to turn her death-polluted hands away from hallowed altars, Juno said in haste, "O Iris, best of all my messengers, go quickly to the dreadful court of Sleep, and in my name command him to dispatch a dream in the shape of Ceyx, who is dead, and tell Halcyone the woeful truth." So she commanded. Iris instantly assumed a garment of 1,000 tints, and as she marked the high skies with her arch, went swiftly thence as ordered to the place where Sleep was then concealed beneath a rock. Near the Cimmerian land there is a cave with a long entrance, in a hallowed mountain, the home of slothful Sleep. To that dark cave the sun, when rising, or in middle skies, or setting, never can approach with light. There dense fogs, mingled with the dark, exhale darkness from the black soil, and all that place is shadowed in a deep mysterious gloom. No wakeful bird, with visage crested high, calls forth the morning's beauty in clear notes, nor do the watchful dogs, more watchful geese, nor wild beasts, cattle, nor the waving trees make sound or whisper, and the human voice is never heard there. Silent rest is there. But from the bottom of a rock beneath, Lethean waters of a stream ooze forth, sounds of a rivulet which trickle with soft murmuring amid the pebbles and invite soft sleep. Before the cavern doors most fertile poppies and a wealth of herbs bloom in abundance, from the juice of which the humid night hours gather sleep and spread it over darkened earth. No door is in that cavern home, and not a hinge's noise nor guarding porter's voice disturbs the calm; but in the middle is a resting couch, raised high on night-black ebony, and soft with feathered cushions all jet black, concealed by a rich coverlet as dark as night, on which the god of Sleep, dissolved in sloth, lies with unmoving limbs. Around him there in all directions unsubstantial dreams recline in imitation of all shapes, as many as the uncounted ears of corn at harvest, as the myriad leaves of trees, or tiny sand grains spread upon the shore. As soon as Iris entered that dread gloom, she pushed aside the visions in her way with her fair glowing hands, and instantly that sacred cavern of the god of Sleep was all illuminated with the glow and splendor of her garment. Out of himself the god with difficulty lifted up his languid eyes. From this small sign of life relapsing many times to languid sloth, while nodding, with his chin he struck his breast again and again. At last he roused himself from gloom and slumber, and while raised upon his elbow he inquired of Iris why she came to him. He knew her by her name. She answered him, "O Sleep, divine repose of all things, gentlest of the deities, peace to the troubled mind from which you drive the cares of life, restorer of men's strength when wearied by the toils of day, command a vision that shall seem the actual form of royal Ceyx, to visit Trachin, famed for Hercules, and tell Halcyone his death by shipwreck. It is Juno's wish." Iris departed after this was said, for she no longer could endure the effect of slumber vapour, and as soon as she knew sleep was creeping over her tired limbs she flew from there, and she departed by the rainbow over which she came before. Out of the multitude, his 1,000 sons, the god of sleep raised Morpheus by his power. Most skilful of his sons, who had the art of imitating any human shape, and dexterously could imitate in men the gait and countenance and every mode of speaking. He could simulate the dress and customary words of any man he chose to represent, but he could not assume the form of anything but man. Such was his art. Another of Sleep's sons could imitate all kinds of animals, such as a wild beast or a flying bird, or even a serpent with its twisted shape, and that son by the gods above was called Ikelos, but the inhabitants of earth called him Phobator. And a third son named Phantasos cleverly could change himself into the forms of earth that have no life, into a statue, water, or a tree. It was the habit of these three to show themselves at night to kings and generals, and other sons would frequently appear among the people of the common class. All such the aged god of sleep passed by, selecting only Morpheus from among the many brothers to accomplish this and execute what Iris had desired. And after all that work he dropped his head and sank again in languid drowsiness, shrinking to sloth within his lofty couch. Morpheus at once flew through night of darkness, on his wings that make no sound, and in brief space of intervening time arrived at the Haemonian city of walls, and there he laid aside his wings and took the face and form of Ceyx. In that form, as one deprived of life, devoid of clothes, wan and ghastly, he stood beside the bed of the sad wife. The hero's beard seemed dripping, sea water streamed down from his drenching hair. Then, leaning on the bed, while dropping tears were running down his cheeks, he said these words: "Most wretched wife, can you still recognize your own loved Ceyx, or have my looks changed so much with death you cannot? Look at me, and you will be assured I am your own, but here, instead of your dear husband, you will find only his ghost. Your faithful prayers did not avail, Halcyone, and I have perished. Give up all deluding hopes of my return. The stormy south wind caught my ship while sailing the Aegean Sea, and there, tossed by the mighty wind, my ship was dashed to pieces. While I vainly called upon your name, the angry waters closed above my drowning head. And it is no uncertain messenger that tells you this, and nothing from vague rumors has been told, but it is I myself, come from the wreck, now telling you my fate. Come then, arise, shed tears, and put on mourning. Do not send me unlamented down to Tartarus." And Morpheus added to these words a voice which she would certainly believe was her beloved husband's, and he seemed to be shedding fond human tears, and even his hands were moved in gestures that Ceyx often used. Halcyone shed tears and groaned aloud, and as she moved her arms and caught at his dear body, she embraced the vacant air. She cried out loudly, "Stay! Oh, stay with me! Why do you hurry from me? We will go together!" Agitated by her own excited voice, and by what seemed to be her own dear husband, she awoke from sleep, and first looked all about her to persuade herself that he whom she had lately seen must yet be with her, for she had aroused the servants, who in haste brought lights desired. When she could find him nowhere, in despair she struck her face, and tore her garment from her breast, and beat her breast with mourning hands. She did not wait to loosen her long hair, but tore it with her hands, and to her nurse, who asked the cause of her wild grief, she cried, "Alas! Halcyone is no more, no more! With her own Ceyx she is dead, is dead! Away with words of comfort! He is lost by shipwreck. I have seen him, and I knew him surely. As a ghost he came to me. And when desirous to detain him, I stretched forth my arms to him, his ghost left me, it vanished from me. But it surely was the ghost of my dead husband. If you ask description of it, I must truly say he did not have his well-known features. He was not so cheerful as he was in life. Alas, I saw him pale and naked, with his hair still dripping. His ghost from the waves stood on this very spot." And while she moaned, she sought his footprints on the floor. "Alas! This was my fear. This is what my mind shuddered to think of when I begged that you would not desert me for the wind's control. But how I wish, since you are sailing forth to perish, that you had but taken me with you. If I had gone with you, it would have been advantage to me, for I should have shared the whole course of my life with you, and you would not have met a separate death. I linger here, but I have met my death. I toss on waves and adrift upon the sea. My heart would be more cruel than the waves if it should ask me to endure this